Story 1. Who remembers stumble upon? You created an account, chose your interests, pressed the stumble button, and were shown a website related to those interests. Give a thumbs up if you liked a page, and a thumbs down if you did not. The more you liked or disliked pages, the better your recommendations became. Story 2. One of my favorite things to do is explore an area on Google Earth that I never planned to visit. I zoom in closely and learn about the small villages, communities, and cities that are on different continents or tiny islands in the middle of nowhere. It's incredible how humans are willing to live anywhere. Story 3. You could try the internet's hardest puzzle, not prawn. It has been online since 2004, but only 67 people have ever completed all 140 levels. I have been playing since 2007 and I am currently in the 70s. Note: since many people are asking questions, feel free to check the main site for rules, frequently asked questions, and hints. Story 4. The entire saga of Frank Sinatra, Ava Gardner, John Farrow, Mia Farrow, Woody Allen, Roman Polanski, Andre Previn, Dory Previn, Tony Della Penta, Nancy Barbato, Jack Nicholson, Angelica Houston, Salvador Dali, Liza Minnelli, Hugh Hefner, Red Skelton, Dean Martin, Marilyn Monroe, Robert Kennedy, the Beatles, and others. John Farrow was sleeping with Ava Gardner, Frank Sinatra's ex-wife. A Chicago reporter once asked Ava Gardner what she saw in Sinatra, calling him a 119-pound has-been. She said, "Well, I'll tell you, 19 pounds is cock." Frank Sinatra then married Mia Farrow, John Farrow's daughter. Dean Martin exclaimed, "Jesus Christ, Frank. I got scotch older than this kid." Red Skelton, the famous comedian, was one of the few witnesses at the marriage. Frank confided to Mia right before the ceremony, "That guy over there, Red, he just shot his wife." Mia Farrow broke up the marriage of Dory and Andre Previn. In 1969, Dory Previn discovered that Mia had become pregnant by her husband, which led to their separation. Andre Previn then divorced Dory Langen while she was hospitalized for a mental breakdown and being treated with electroconvulsive therapy. Dory and Andre made music for both Frank Sinatra and the film Valley of the Dolls. Valley of the Dolls starred Sharon Tate, who was later murdered by members of the Charles Manson family. Sharon Tate married Roman Polanski, who was later accused of sexually assaulting a 13-year-old at Jack Nicholson's Bel Air house. Roman Polanski directed Rosemary's Baby, which starred Mia Farrow. Rosemary's Baby helped break up Mia Farrow and Frank Sinatra's marriage and propelled Farrow to stardom after Sharon Tate had previously outshone her. There is so much more. To get started, look up how Frank Sinatra got his scars, then look up the rustic cabin incident. Story 5. Ask a Mortician on YouTube is an entertaining way to learn about the green funeral industry and confront mortality. If you love darkness, enjoy gallows humor, or are curious about what happens to your body after death, check it out. Story 6. Someone in another thread recommended the YouTube channel Geography Now. I have been binge watching it for the past week. It is a really entertaining way to learn about all the countries in the world. Story 7. My saved posts on Reddit. Take the time to go back through them and act in a way that reflects why you saved each one. Story 8. Here is a list of a couple hundred small homestead skills to build. Make a mallet from a branch and a hatchet. Do a bit of sewing. Make an adobe brick from mud in the backyard. Sharpen knives and tools. Dry some food. Story 9. Visit edx.org for college-level courses on almost any topic. The courses are free. If you want a verified certificate showing you completed a course, you must pay. Otherwise, the course materials remain free. Story 10. I've been down a rabbit hole learning to make sourdough bread. I'm fascinated. I didn't realize how the process works. I saw a woman who has been using the same sourdough starter since the 1970s, and she got hers from a woman who had used hers for 100 years. Edit. This really blew up. People are asking for links. A friend shared a video that started me. It features a baker making bread. Story 11. I thought reading about the Death Valley Germans was very interesting and took several hours to read and do my own research. If the site asks for a login or password, that means the site is overwhelmed. I know it is frustrating, but I did not realize it would get this much traffic. Try again in an hour or two and it should be fine. The Internet Archive is very useful in these situations. Credit to user ABC_WTF. Story 12. My 1990s television is a fun novelty website where you can easily lose yourself for hours in nostalgia. It uses YouTube videos to simulate watching television in the 1990s and lets you specify the year and the categories you want to see when you change channels. There are also my 1980s television and my 1970s television. Story 13. Visit Wikipedia and choose a country. Look at the history of its leaders. It can be interesting to see the list of leaders and the politics behind it, especially in African countries, because leaders often change and the reasons can be surprising. Story 14. The Rotten Library has an archive that is essentially a pre-Wikipedia collection of handwritten articles on odd subjects such as cults and murders. It is cross-linked and easy to get lost in. It is a relic of a time when the web was scattered information with no reliable way to find things. The Rotten Library was my teenage introduction to many oddities that now get reposted on Reddit every few months. Update. A mirror was found. Story 15. On Reddit, posts from John Titor began appearing in the early 2000s. Someone claimed to be a military time traveler from the year 2036. He arrived in 2000 on a stopover for personal reasons. His primary mission was to return to 1975 to recover an International Business Machines 5100 computer, which was needed to debug major computer problems that would arise in his original time. Some dismissed this as an elaborate hoax. The important point is there is an anticipated year 2000-style computing failure related to the Unix 2038 problem, and only about 5 people in the world knew the International Business Machines 5100 debugging program existed, a fact later confirmed by someone involved with the project. His posts contained predictions from his timeline, time travel theory, the physics of his machine, and even schematics of the time travel device. All of his posts are archived. Enjoy your trip down the rabbit hole. Story 16. If you are into music, there are many great channels on YouTube. Rick Beato does in-depth music and song analyses. Alex Ball has made documentaries about Roland and the Prophet synthesizers, which provide interesting history and information. True Cuckoo is a creator with many videos about synthesizers, drum machines, jams, and tutorials. There is so much to learn. I started with guitar and recently got into synthesizers and drum machines. YouTube is a great place to learn from many talented people, and you can explore further on your own. Story 17. On YouTube, I have been viewing a channel named Horror Stories. It is a collection of short, vivid, real-life horror stories about people who died in the most horrible, unimaginable, and unsuspecting ways. No clickbait and clear, on-point storytelling. Story 18. Maybe you could find out what is on the second page of Google. Story 19. Oh man, I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Here is my list in no particular order. 1. Dyatlov Pass Incident. 2. Voynich Manuscript. 3. Japan Airlines Flight 1628. An extremely compelling unidentified flying object sighting. 4. MKUltra, Central Intelligence Agency Mind Control Program. 5. Project Northwoods. 6. Tunguska Event, one of my favorites. 7. Aleph, formerly Aum Shinrikyo, a Japanese death cult. 8. Skinwalker Ranch. 9. The Philadelphia Experiment. 10. Japanese Unit 731, extremely brutal. 11. Russian apartment bombings, alleged false flag attacks in the late 1990s. 12. Saudi Arabian involvement in the September 11, 2001 attacks. 13. Gulf of Tonkin incident. 14. Project Azorian. 15. Bilderberg meetings. 16. Max Headroom television station hijacking. 17. Fast radio bursts, possibly extraterrestrial but probably not. 18. Nazi bell. 19. Misplaced artifacts, archaeological items appearing well outside their understood time range and in geological contexts where they should not be. 20. Anything to do with Monsanto, particularly their herbicide Roundup. Story 20. Modern Russian history. Start by reading about Rasputin, then continue from there. Good material. Story 21, Khan Academy. I recommend this because it has become obvious that part of the problem right now is how many people did not do well in school, me included. It is a big part of why I love this site, or did not have the opportunity, and therefore tune out valuable information they do not understand. I wish more people would take advantage of the fact that educational information is free, or close to free online nowadays. You just have to look for it. Before the internet, you had to be lucky enough to afford education and live in a place where that kind of opportunity was available. Most people in the past did not get to change their future as easily as we can now. Story 22. Try researching the DuPont family, not the medical or innovative aspects, but the deeply disturbing allegations of incest and other family scandals. It is hard to find information because wealthy interests control much of the media, but material does exist. Story 23. Science channels. From entertaining to informative, science channels have been my favorite types of channels to binge watch. Vsauce is one of the best at this. Backyard Scientist, Mark Rober, and the Slow Mo guys, to name a few. If you want a mental challenge, go for really heady, concept, and theory-laden channels such as Public Broadcasting Service's Spacetime and Quantum Gravity Research. Story 24. I am watching all of the Scooby-Doo seasons and the different versions. Story 25. The transcribers of Reddit subreddit is a pretty good way to kill some time by writing transcriptions for people who are visually impaired. Story 26. I have been reading about quantum mechanics. I figure that even if the quarantine lasts a year or two, I still will not understand any of it. Story 27. I became really interested in watching dogs fail splendidly at national agility training competitions. It was great fun. Story 28. Normally, I recommend the Wikipedia list of unusual deaths. I still recommend it, but with a disclaimer. As we isolate to protect our physical health, isolation can harm our mental health, and reading about unusual deaths may not be advisable for everyone right now. Content warning. This topic includes disturbing cases. For example, Stephen Winfrey died of asphyxiation in 2015 after his head became trapped in a rabbit hole. Story 29. I check the comment history of user poem for your sprog every once in a while. The sheer number of high-quality poems they post is very impressive. Story 30. I laughed out loud. A few years ago, I couldn't sleep and fell into an oyster-shucking rabbit hole. It was a live stream of a woman shucking oysters for pearls of different colors, kind of like an unboxing video, but I needed to know what kind of pearls would emerge. Story 31. Chris Chan. A comprehensive history. This post received a lot of attention. Shout out to Gino Samuel 21 for creating an excellent series. Story 32. The Titanic did not really sink. Instead, the Olympic sank in an insurance scam. Edited to add. I do not actually believe this. It is just one hell of a theory to read. Story 33. YouTube channels. History YouTube channels. Historia Civilis, Voices of the Past, Invicta, Salmonella Academy, History Time, House of History, Kings and Generals, Crash Course, Dan Carlin, Eastery, Epic History TV, Extra Credits, Forgotten Weapons, Lemino, Lindy Beige, Military History Visualized, Peter David Documentaries, The Great War, The Cold War, Time Ghost History. Science and Space. Curious Droid, Public Broadcasting Service Spacetime, Public Broadcasting Service Ians, Smarter Everyday, Vsauce. Spirituality and Conspiracies. Decoding Spirituality, Pursuit of Wonder, Sadhguru, True Meaning, Truth Stream Media, What Do You Desire? Do It Yourself. How to Make Everything. Channels about film. Now you see it, every frame a painting, Beyond the Frame, Red Letter Media Reviews, Cinematography Database, Jenny Nicholson Reviews, Lessons from the Screenplay, Captain Christian, Placid Cup, Ralph the Movie Maker. Comedy. Auntie Donna, Bridge Stewart, Joel Haver Shorts, Don't Hug Me I'm Scared, Gus Johnson, Jaden Animations. Video Essays. CGP Grey, Kurzgesagt, Nerdwriter 1, What I've Learned, Zay Frank and Friends. Fitness. Picture Fit, Athlean X, Nutrition Facts. Miscellaneous. Knowing Better, History, Government, Psychology. ADV China. Informative channel about two foreigners riding motorcycles and talking about China. Primitive Technology. Rambleac. A person filming walks through Tokyo and other places in Japan. Story 34. Web serial novels. There are many good ones available for free. I have not read many, but I can personally recommend Worm and the Practical Guide to Evil. Story 35. Honestly, I just like looking up random stuff and people I hear about from television shows, Reddit, and so on. I look them up on Wikipedia and dig through connected articles. I looked up Kenny Rogers and, after a few links, ended up on Shel Silverstein's page, where I learned he wrote Johnny Cash's A Boy Named Sue. Story 36. I always love the opportunity to talk about the Internet Archive because it is a wonderful, free resource when you need distractions. It has millions of free downloads of music, movies, books, software, and so on. One popular example is that it hosts a very large catalog of Grateful Dead recordings. There is also the Internet Arcade, where you can play many classic games, and the Console Living Room, which is similar. They offer access to many old personal computer games, and you can even play the original Oregon Trail online. There is much more in their software section as well. The site also includes the Wayback Machine, which has archived more than 396 billion web pages. You can go back and see how websites looked years ago. For example, Reddit on July 25, 2005, a month after it was created. Story 37. StarKid is a theater group that produces amazing musicals and posts them on YouTube to watch for free. Story 38. The old Reddit quarantine-a-roo. Story 39. Looking up your symptoms when you get sick is the worst rabbit hole. Story 40. I've become very interested in sea shanties. Try learning some music. Story 41. The entirety of Bionicle lore can be found in the Biomedia Project comics collection and on the Biosector 01 wiki. Story 42. True crime. Studying murderers and serial killers is terribly addictive. The ethical issues of prosecuting a mentally ill person or a minor, the possibilities for rehabilitation, and whether they should ever be released are truly fascinating. The only downside is that I cannot discuss this with people I know in real life. I cannot imagine telling anyone that my hobby is learning about murders. Story 43. Reading court opinions from the Court of Appeals in your state. I have learned so much about the legal system, legal precedent in proceedings, police interrogation, searches and seizures, and many other topics. I have also learned there are some seriously troubled people, more than I could have imagined. Story 44. Summoning Salt is a YouTube creator who covers the history of speedrunning games in concrete detail. Even if you do not like speedrunning, you should still take a look at his channel. Here is his video on Choco Mountain to get you started. Story 45. Everyone made fun of those rapping clowns for not knowing how magnets work. I spent 12 hours watching videos about magnetic fields, and apparently nobody knows why magnets behave the way they do. Story 46. My girlfriend and I watched every Eurovision music video from the last 5 years over the course of 3 days. Time well spent. I never knew how amazing the whole competition is. It's like Got Talent on steroids. Story 47. Webcomics are abundant across every genre. I prefer fantasy, but I enjoy many genres. I read more than 100 ongoing webcomics across multiple websites and platforms. Webtoons, available as an app and in a browser, is a large collection of free comics. Some series offer paid early access to episodes, but there is plenty of free content through daily originals updates in Canvas, which is a more open model for creators. Favorites from Webtoons originals. The Weight of Our Sky, historical fiction about a Malay girl, Melatai, with obsessive-compulsive disorder. It is set during the 1969 race riots in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, which resulted in hundreds of deaths. The comic is based on a novel of the same name. I appreciate its realistic portrayal of obsessive-compulsive disorder. I have a severe contamination type of obsessive-compulsive disorder myself. Tower of God, an ongoing fantasy series set in a vast tower inhabited by many races. The story follows a boy who arrived from outside the tower and shows exceptional potential. It is complex and well-crafted. I have reread it 2 or 3 times. Spirit Fingers, a slice-of-life drama about Amy Song, an average South Korean teen who discovers a love of art and forms close friendships after joining a sketching club. As Baby Blue Finger, or Babel, Amy grows from her experiences and finds her own color. a supernatural dark fantasy with psychological and cultural elements about an international organization called Asterisk that works with the supernatural. The series uses multiple languages and an international modern fantasy setting. Tapas, formerly Tapas Tick, is available as an app and on the web. It has paid content, but some comics are free on timers or are offered freely at times. I support artists when I can, though I often use free options. Favorites on Tapas: Out of the Blue, about a fish boy stuck in a dam and his encounters with a blind dam worker. The Witch's Bakery, a cozy fantasy about Granny Snap's bakery, run with her grandchildren Dragon Snap and Ginger Snap. Ultramarine Weather, two childhood friends meet a weather witch who has lost his memories. Hiveworks is a curated collection of webcomics created by longtime comic creators and collectives. Examples: How to Be a Werewolf follows Mal, a woman bitten as a child who becomes a werewolf. She later meets another friendly werewolf who recognizes her nature after visiting the cafe where she works. Wildlife: Oscar rents an old house and encounters supernatural occurrences. The ghost of a 1940s mathematician, a teenage werewolf in a bathtub, and other oddities. Wildlife is a supernatural adventure and horror series set in a small town in rural Oklahoma, featuring creatures from Native American mythology and seen through the perspective of a journalist from Chicago. Independent comics and creator sites: Miss Melee, a superhero comedy about a hero and mother who returns to heroing after raising a child. Ava's Demon, a sci-fi fantasy adventure about Ava and the demon inside her. As she forms packs and meets other vessels, her life changes dramatically. The website includes animations and animated backgrounds for the full experience. Colorless, a dark fantasy that follows Joki, who wakes in the supernatural city of Aisho with no memories. He learns about the creatures that inhabit the city and how unwelcome humans are there. This comic also uses animated scenes. If you want more recommendations or comics in other genres, let me know. Story 48. Look up Mario Kart music over a police chase on YouTube. Story 49. How to grow mushrooms, not psilocybin mushrooms. Please do not ask because it gets annoying. Different techniques are used for different species. Also, the rabbit hole of how many chemical products we derive from fungi. It is unreasonable to believe in the curative power of fungi without evidence, because there is a fine line between useful fungal-derived compounds and essential oil or homeopathic claims and cure-all products marketed by multi-level marketing companies and anti-vaccine groups on Facebook. Story 50. I don't remember where I learned this, but there is a little game you can play on Wikipedia. Pick two completely random, unrelated topics. Choose one of the topics and open its Wikipedia article. From that article, follow links to other articles, continuing until you reach the other topic. You pass the time and learn about new things. Story 51. An American who contributed more to our lives than just about any other person you have heard of, Luther Burbank. Story 52. I do not know if good is the right word, but I can personally spend hours reading about cults. I highly recommend checking out the Heaven's Gate website, which is still active, and then falling headfirst into Wikipedia articles and YouTube videos. Story 53. Did you know we are a hybrid slave race forged by aliens to mine precious metals to repair the atmosphere of their home planet? The Great Flood was their attempt to wash us off the planet because they had started falling in love with us. True story. Now you do not have to watch weeks of movies about the Anunnaki. Story 54. Frederick Knudsen makes documentary-style videos exploring rabbit holes under the title Down the Rabbit Hole. I enjoy them a lot. Story 55. Brilliant long-form articles curated from around the web. Story 56. Use the Lord of the Rings wikis. Search for one character and then click the links. Start with someone well-known like Gandalf and end with a list of people who carried the Ring of Barahir. It is a great way to build knowledge of the universe and then enjoy the films when you marathon them later this week. Story 57. Watching historical documentaries is enjoyable. Some of them are on YouTube and run 8 hours or more, so you can spend days watching them. Story 58. Pizza crust is easy to make and can be some of the best you've ever had. There is a whole world of crust makers who share their techniques. Can become addictive. You can use the dough to make garlic knots, breadsticks, and more. Story 59. Search online for Dungeons & Dragons portable document format files, and you will find tons of free content. Do not go to the Wizards of the Coast site. They will charge you for older advanced Dungeons & Dragons content that, in my opinion, should be free. Start a campaign and play with people online. Story 60. Experimental hip-hop, Japanese city pop, and other genres are mostly confined to the internet in the West, while city pop remains popular in Japan. Story 61. This is not really a rabbit hole, but I am pretty sure Audible, an Amazon company, has an event for students who are out of school so they can read. Story 62. If you like a certain show, movie, or book, read fan fiction to explore other people's interpretations. Story 63. The Marble Machine X build process on YouTube is fascinating to watch. Story 64. Boy, I've been reading so much Harry Potter fan fiction. A writer named Northumbrian created a canonical expanded universe set decades after Deathly Hallows, and it's been a blast reading his work. Story 65. Look up conspiracy theories, spooky stories, and mysteries on YouTube. Top 5 videos, bedtime stories, and Lazy Masquerade are all excellent and paranoia-inducing. Cold Case Detective is also worth watching. Story 66. My favorite subject is the military organization of Nazi Germany. I am interested in the army's organization during the war, not the ideology. I am curious about how its systems worked, the vehicles it used, the generals, and the battles and strategies. I can read about these topics for hours. Story 67. I was looking up abandoned buildings on YouTube. There are so many walkthroughs of old, dilapidated buildings with people's belongings still inside. It is creepy, but morbidly interesting. Story 68. Missing 411 is a study of missing people and alleged government cover-ups of thousands of disappearances in national parks. Strange cases include a 4-year-old vanishing in the middle of a line of people and being found 3 to 5 miles away the next day on a cliff they could not have climbed. Victims found without shoes. Cell phones pinging multiple cell towers simultaneously in the area, and scent dogs losing scent in unusual ways. YouTube has many audiobooks and short stories. H.P. Lovecraft wrote horror stories such as Cthulhu and the Old Ones. August Derleth, collaborator and publisher of Lovecraft. Clive Barker wrote Hellraiser and other stories. Mr. Creepypasta, horror stories usually 7 to 30 minutes. Some up to 3 hours. Horror Babble, horror stories in similar lengths. Creepsmcpasta, horror stories in similar lengths. Barely Sociable, covers mysteries and strange world events. Paperback Mania, paperback book reviews. Alter, anthology series similar to The Twilight Zone and Black Mirror. Dust, anthology series similar to The Twilight Zone and Black Mirror. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.